Hello everyone, welcome to another Screamfest special for The Bornless. Can you believe it? Jake has let me come back to do another stream. If you haven't yet joined the madness, make sure to head over to Steam right now and get in The Bornless. It is live for 2 more days and it's completely free to play. This session is called Summoning the Demons, and we're diving into the art, sound and design behind some of your favourite nightmares. Bale, Belial, Zagan, Phoenix and more. My name is Tom, content lead here at The Bornless, and joining me today are Ollie, our sound lead, Fred, our lead 3D artist, and John, our graphic design extraordinaire. And together, we'll be pulling back the curtain on how we design the look, feel, and terror of The Bornless. We'll show you how our visual and audio design work together to build tension, and how even silence or a single whisper can change how you play. Like last time, this video is pre-recorded. Jake still clearly doesn't trust me, but we're all in the chat right now ready to hang out and answer any questions you have. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts, ask us about your favourite demon, or tell us what's been creeping you out the most in the demo so far. Alright, let's light the incense and summon the demon. First questions are for you, Ollie. So, when you were building the audio identity for The Bornless, what were the main goals or principles guiding you and the team?
Yeah, so when me and my sound colleague first started getting into the game, we looked at a lot of classic horrors like Resident Evil, Dead Space, and also some more kind of like ancient ritualistic vibes like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, because what we didn't want is a kind of modern day crash bang wallop FPS style sound. We wanted it to sound kind of creepy, disturbing, ancient, but also we had to tie it up into this whole 1960s kind of mid-century vibe, ground it in today as well. So that was our main kind of remit. We also looked at a lot of movie soundtracks as well, like Hereditary and Annihilation, for that kind of ultimate disturbed vibe.
Nice, amazing. I love that. So, VoIP has become such a massive part of how players experience The Bornless. Was VoIP something that was always on the cards from the get-go? And like, what makes the VoIP experience so special in The Bornless?
Yeah, so VoIP wasn't on the cards early on, not to my knowledge anyway. And originally we did plan on having a lot of in-game character dialogue. And when we were planning that, we were quite concerned that we didn't want it to be hundreds of like audio barks. We didn't want reloading and I need ammo, all over the place, because it would really take away from the horror element. And of course, with an FPS, you do have a lot of sort of big action sounds going on, but we wanted to maintain this kind of level of, sometimes you're in an area that's very quiet, to add to that horror. Sometimes you're in an area that builds tension. We didn't want there to be constant bombardment of sound all the time. And therefore we were concerned about having these voice lines all the time. And then came VoIP. And it was almost like a kind of... it was a big relief in a way, because it meant the player could be the character. The player becomes Harry. The player becomes Denzel. And for me, because I play The Bornless in a very role-play kind of way, as you guys may know,
Yeah.
I like to embrace the characters. Having that ability for the player to go in and be that character themselves and not have to, you get the same voice line every time. I think that's a really big part of what The Bornless is. And now, as we know from playtesting, VoIP has become like one of the main things people love about the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the the best thing about VoIP is that like every game is different. You come across people playing it in such different ways, using VoIP in such different ways. I mean, Ollie, when you and I play, you know, we will often RP, but then sometimes we'll go full stealth mode and we'll be like,
exactly,
quiet on
comms,
comms. Like, use that to our advantage, and that it just introduces such a wicked play style to the game.
100%.
Love that. So are there like any smaller audio touches or moments that you think players sometimes might miss, like whispers, distant screams, or subtle cues that you're specifically proud of? One of my favourite ones is when you go towards the school in Farmers Town. I absolutely love that. I love, like, it's so creepy, like hearing that the sound of the school children like echoing. It's so creepy. What's one of your favourites that you're particularly proud of?
I can't claim credit for that. That's all Big Roman, you know, our number one pal. But for me, there's little things in there that I really like. I hear every time. In fact, we talked about it yesterday when we were playing. We now know when each demon transforms who it is, right? We know, oh, someone's turned into Belial, someone's turned into Zagan, someone's turned into Oribus. And as I was telling you yesterday, the key difference there is actually each one of those sounds has a small element of their theme tune in the sound. So me and Romain, back in the day, we wrote a load of music for the game, and most of them are themes for each demon. So each demon has its own bit of music, and within those SFX, just very subtly, one or two notes is a bit of that music. And for me, that's like a really nice little added layer. And then, of course, the music in general is something I'm really proud of. Particularly, I'm at the moment loving the Blind Tiger jukebox.
Do you know what I was just about to say about that? About, like, we can't not talk about the music that you find in the Blind Tiger. Can you give us like a little bit of background as to like where that came from, how that came to fruition, and what we're hearing exactly?
Yeah, so basically, originally when we did the music for the game a couple of years ago now, it was all very OST, original soundtrack, heavily inspired by movies, and going back to that idea of horror aesthetic for the audio, we didn't want full-on pumping music throughout the game. You know, we had to let the ambience do the talking, and therefore there isn't a lot of in-game music. There is some diegetic music, the old-timey music, and we've got, like I said, the different themes that come in now and again, but mostly during the menu or the Safehouse, stuff like that. But, of course, you know, it's set in the 60s, and there is a biker bar, and the bikers aren't going to be rocking out to, you know, Frank Sinatra, are they? Well, they might.
That's very true.
And therefore I thought, well, they're going to have some kind of guitar-based music. So I just quickly cobbled together, you know, listened to a lot of inspiration, figured kind of what would they be listening to, maybe a bit of 50s rock and roll, some early kind of Creedence or Steppenwolf or Chuck Berry, and basically took all that good stuff, took all that inspiration, and just knocked out a few tunes for the jukebox there. I mean, we can do some more even. I feel inspired. I hope to maybe keep going on that and add to them. But yeah, it's good fun.
I mean, personally, I absolutely love them. I think it's it's one of those, like, again, like going back to the previous question, those like subtle cues. It's one of those like little details that just like builds into the world and like makes the world make so much more sense. And I absolutely love that. Right, bonus question. If you had to sum up the sound of the Bornless in one word, what would it be?
Unsettling.
Love that. Perfect. Amazing. Right, Fred, you're up, my man. Let's speak about some demons, shall we?
Okay, let's get into it.
So, every demon in the Bornless feels very, very distinct, and I absolutely love that in both design and in gameplay. Can you walk us through what the process looks like from the first concept to actually getting one working in the game, usable for players?
100%. So it really varies based on which demon we're doing. Obviously, we have, I think, maybe 8 demons now. Not all of those are playable, but they're going to be coming in the future. And each demon kind of serves a different purpose. So there are some demons who, for example, like Fennex, we knew that we had this awesome farm and we had these Fennex worshippers, but we didn't have a Fennex. We knew we had to create one. So the map and the location and the theme and kind of the idea of him came before him. And so we started thinking, what links to the farm? How can we create a really cool farm demon? And we sort of thought, we want to make a wicker man. That kind of fits that pagan, demonic vibe perfectly, matches the farm. The farm was covered in fire already. We had these kind of weird wicker, twisted totems. We knew we needed a wicker man, but we didn't know which demon it was going to be, because there's 72 demons in this book, and there's many more demons and creatures in Lovecraft. So we had a lot to draw from, and eventually we settled on Phoenix, which was kind of a weird choice at first, because obviously Phoenix sounds like a phoenix. It was a phoenix in the book, which is very different to how he is in game. It was a phoenix which sings, and Phoenix barely even speaks. He's this huge, ginormous, burning man. But the key point was everything in the book was based around fire for Phoenix. It's fire, ash, rebirth. So we were like, we've done weirder with other demons. We've taken it further away from the subject matter. Phoenix is going to be this phoenix demon, but we're going to recraft him into this huge, towering behemoth. So the location and the need for this thing to be worshipped by these weird, twisted farmers created Phoenix. So the design for him was a lot of back and forth between me and Toby, our CEO, of me sculpting and him going, it's not quite right. I had some that looked a bit more like Groot. They were like twisted, but kind of more tree-like and root-like, and it just wasn't working. So then I created this huge cage out of wood, which is what you can see in game now, filled the inside with this weird, like, twisted muscle mass coal creation, and then the head is where I think he really shines, was this twisted carving of this, like, eyeless skull with huge teeth, and the same symbol that the cultists have carved into their heads, which are these sort of ram horns. So they've carved it based on him. So he really was formed from all these different ideas, and kind of from the cultists that we already had, these weird carvings in their heads, it became his signature look. So after we had the character, we had the location, and we knew he's all based around fire. That was when the designers took over. So Branton, Luke, and the animator Morgan, and I think Michael worked on him as well, and started working out the design, the kit, the play style of him. So for Phoenix, the combat and the playstyle came after he already existed, because I think his look and his appearance was the most important thing, because he's such a key pillar of the map. So yeah, they took over from there and made this huge beast which has a flamethrower heart and smashes the ground and has this huge charge and just crushes everything in its path.
Yeah,
and I think he turned out pretty awesome.
Yeah, he is a proper tank.
Yeah.
And I mean, very visually striking. Like,
Yeah.
you see Phoenix coming, it's scary. And especially with his charge attack. Like, that
Yeah, he's
charge attack,
surprisingly
just
fast, I
like,
can't lie.
oh my god, it's terrifying. Amazing.
So that was Phoenix, and obviously, like I said, we had he came almost last out of the map. We had the map, we had the cultists. There are other characters that we had. I mean, we had Zagan for 3 years before he came into the game. We had his 3 iterations of his domain. We had everything since him, and he's been the kind of the seed that's grown the Zagan land, and he's now become one of our most iconic characters. But he's only recently joined the game, and he's existed in our lore, in our world for 3 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, really.
Trust me. I've been banging on about getting him in game for so long.
I know. Yeah, it's nice to have him finally in. He's really awesome.
Definitely.
Figuring out his kit was quite tough. Kind of, how do we make him a big tank but not Phoenix? So we settled into this sort of trickster style where he has these clones that he can teleport between, and then out of nowhere jump with this huge axe swing. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Amazing. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you so much. So how do you strike the balance between making demons genuinely frightening, which I would argue most of the demons in game already are, but while also keeping them fun and strategic to play with or against?
So I think this ties kind of into my previous answer, is we want to make sure that we balance the aesthetics and the gameplay, like you said. So often it's a huge balance that takes us weeks of internal testing. Like, we get the first iteration of Belial, and he's like horrifically OP. He can literally endlessly heal. Belial versus Belial fights never end because they both heal from every hit. And then we make some changes, and suddenly he's getting killed in one headshot, and he's completely useless. And so it's often a huge balancing act to make these demons kind of cool or feel impactful, but also not feel like they just destroy the game for everyone who isn't them. And it's also important to note that a lot of our demons are still work in progresses. Like, I don't think there's any that we can say are done. Even I think Oribus is the most kind of finished demon. I guarantee you we'll be making changes before release to make sure he's perfect. But I think the key thing is to make them feel powerful and terrifying to fight against, but not overpowered and not crushing, because you're probably going to be spending 90% of the match as a human, not as a demon. So if it feels crap to be a human, most people will have a rough time. So I think a really key factor here is creating counterplay opportunities. So making it so that, Belial is super powerful, but if you get up in his face with a trench gun, he's cooked, right? He's going to get destroyed. And Fenix is insanely powerful up close. If you run against him with a trench gun, he's going to flatten you in like 2 hits. If you jump in the back of the truck, get some distance, or you maybe climb up to high ground and you start sniping him, he's not going to be able to do anything. You'll take him out, right? So both the demon and the player need to play smart and need to be switched on. Neither side can just like run and gun or just spray and pray into the crowds. Like, they have to be thinking with every single decision they make, or the other side will win, right? And both kind of feel in a position of power. And I think especially once we add spells, that's going to really change the game, because suddenly the humans are going to have a trick up their sleeve. The demon's rushing them, and they have a fire bomb that just blasts the demon away or something crazy. You know? So that's going to make kind of everything more intense and kind of up the stakes and kind of make each engagement much more intense.
Amazing. Love that. The lore around our particular demons at the moment, you know, Baal, Belial, Zagan, Fenix, goes super deep into demonology and, you know, into the source text, source material. What sort of the process? How do we decide what to pull from? I mean, you've sort of mentioned this with your answer about Fenix, but like, what do we pull from that source text, and what do we reinvent that fits the Bornless? How do we sort of make that decision? How does that work?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. Zagan in the book is actually a griffin. He's like a huge griffin that can sometimes turn into a man. As you can tell by playing the game, Zagan is not a griffin at all. He's nothing like a griffin.
He is not.
But the descriptive text about him said that he makes men witty, he turns water into wine, and he makes fools wise. So we kind of thought, okay, I don't know if we want to make him a griffin. We want to make him this killer clown, terrifying demon, right? But he makes men witty, so he kind of brings this kind of creepy comedic element, which is like, he's forcing them to be witty. I don't really... It's creepy, right? He turns water into wine. He's like tricking people. He's he's creating illusions, and he makes fools wise. Now, that could be taken as, you know, he's a genius who educates people. I think it's more like he loves fools and he gives them this power, and he kind of empowers them, right? He's this weird, foolish trickster character. So we took the bits that we wanted, and the bits we didn't want, we left them in the book. I mean, the book is like 200 years old, created before video games. I think, you know, no one's going to complain if we take our creative licenses. Oribus was also a horse in the original book. He's no longer a horse, but he does have sort of hairy legs, and
there's
he
some
hooves,
similarity.
Right? So we've kind of lent into what we wanted and taken it as like a creative starting point, right? And we kind of pull out what we want. Especially now, we're leaning into the SCP and we're leaning into Lovecraft so much. I feel like we can kind of do whatever we want, and we have all of these kind of things that get us thinking, but nothing to like tie us down, because we haven't committed to making a lore accurate Lesser Key of Solomon book we're
Yeah.
not making a Lovecraft game, right? We're making this crazy game in this messed up universe where God is dead and demons rule and angels are coming for their revenge, and the humans are just these puppets that are just wandering around, just getting attacked by everyone. But also they have spells, they can fight back, they
Yeah.
have machine guns, they can kill demons if they want to. You know, we can do whatever we want basically. So
Yeah.
basically
Amazing.
we take what we want and then we add in whatever crazy creative juices we want to add to just juice it all up.
Perfect. Love that. So, bonus question for you. Do you have a personal favourite demon at the moment, and what makes it stand out for you?
Okay.
Them stand out.
Okay. I think I've got two answers. I think Oribus, for me personally, is the most fun to play.
Okay.
And he's also the first demon I made. Like 3 years ago, when Toby brought me onto the team, I created Oribus, and he was I poured a lot of love into him, and I think he's got a special place in my heart because of that. But I do think that Fennex is my favourite design. I'm super happy with how that head turned out. He just looks rough, man. He's so beefy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I think he looks intense. So I think Oribus is my favourite to play. He's just so quick, and his jump is awesome. Like the jump when he slams down is so good.
Oh god, yeah.
But I think
yeah.
I think Fennex turned out pretty cool.
Wicked. Amazing. I would say personally mine is Zagan. And I think, he creates such amazing, striking visual impact. The huge smile, the clown makeup, the crazy hair. I think, just looks phenomenal, which nicely brings us on to my good friend John for the next lot of questions. So, the Bornless has got a really distinct visual identity. Fred's spoken about it. So it's that sort of mix of 1960s style Lovecraftian horror. What core ideas or references shape the look and feel of the marketing visuals that we put out?
Yeah. So obviously, props to Fred, like creating all these like sick demons. They really do convey, especially the horror aspect of the game. But yeah, I would definitely say that in terms of the visual direction, I think is rooted in, I guess, like tension and familiarity and like dread. So obviously the focus of horror, I think that should be part of like the main foundation of the visuals. Obviously the Bornless is based in the 1960s, which obviously the aesthetics gives us like the tangible kind of nostalgic framework. So obviously there's like the film grains, there's the analog stuff, typography, all the wacky logos and like handcrafted like posters. Like that. Those are like kind of like the key things. I guess also the source of obviously the Lovecraftian side of things allows us to kind of distort that a little bit. So we always add a bit of flavor to our visual identity, and I'm also making sure it's very obvious that it's us, with obviously the color selections and whatnot that we've crafted over the years. In terms of inspiration though, personally I have drawn some inspiration from classics like Psycho, not Christian Bale Psycho. So like the real 1960s Psycho, where the visuals are intentionally very intense, even though it's black and white, but like the lighting is super intense. But it really gave that horrific feel. And then also Rosemary's Baby, which blends a lot of like the moodiness of the colors and like the fog and the mysteriousness of that. So the kind of characteristics of these movies, I've definitely tried to basically bleed it into our visuals. And obviously I can't really, I have to give credit to obviously like people like Christopher Nolan, who on a modern day quality bar, I definitely try to hit that as I can every single day, and kind of like his thought process behind every intention of each creative thing that he makes. So that's definitely the biggest kind of inspiration. Yeah, for sure.
So fear in the Bornless often comes from subtle design rather than like shock. Like, we've spoken about audio playing a massive role in that, and with the demons specifically, apart from maybe the stillborns, because they are literally designed to be shocking. What visual techniques do you rely on to build that sense of unease? Things like you've mentioned, lighting, texture, and composition when creating those graphics.
Yeah. So when I go into obviously like into the actual engine and like composite the actual demons and stuff, or characters, or even scenarios, I do rely on like long shadows, kind of like deep, harsh lighting, and again that's kind of like inspiration from Psycho, and then we use like very low key kind of lighting. So like obviously example, like you could probably barely see like the background, but like the environment is still there with like the fogs that in the foreground. Some of the highlights of the demons are still being shown, but like it's not fully kind of showcasing everything, because you want to give that kind of shock factor to the players when they do play the game. So I always try to do it quite tastefully, and yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I would say is like the main thing.
Yeah, amazing. So even though the world of the Bornless is surreal, we've spoken about how crazy these demons are and some of the creatures that are on the island, it still feels very like grounded and believable. So it's not like too out of worldly, if that makes sense. How do you approach making horror visuals feel real and tactile rather than just purely fantastical?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And again, I got to give credit to the team, obviously, and especially Fred. He is also, part of the, the reason why like he makes my job so easy is because he's created stuff that's like from real life. Like, so, to kind of quite frankly answer that question is, it's based on real life, honestly. The foundations of everything from like the word textures to the tables or even like the doors and stuff is clearly from the real world of us, and we're basically translating that into a game where, we are using a powerful tool that basically blurs the line between kind of that reality. So obviously there's like lighting setups, I use the traditional like 3-point lights, in certain cases, some photography for, portrait techniques like the thirds, and obviously like personally also, this probably is kind of like my own kind of superpower, is that not many people know, but I'm actually not that great at horror. I really am not that great at horror, so I'm actually a bit of a scaredy cat. So
you and me both. Don't worry.
So that's the funny thing about it, is that when I do kind of like approach these works, I do think about like my kind of, I wouldn't say like, well, I guess it's kind of like my past nightmares as a childhood. So like what things like, I don't know, where you're sleeping on your own, but then you kind of keep looking at the closet, and is it like kind of slowly opening? You don't really know. You kind of like those type of things are like I'm trying to kind of manifesting again, adding that kind of flavor and feeling into the works that I do, which 100%. I believe creates that kind of realism.
100%. And I think, like the whole island is designed about that, like it's been ripped from the normal timeline. We're stuck in the 1960s, and like these creatures are here, and these demons and all that sort of stuff. So I think that fits so perfectly. Bonus question. If you had to sum up the Bornless art style in one phrase or word, what would it be?
I would probably say it's like a interactive Lovecraftian reality.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this stream, and thank you all for watching and spending part of your Screamfest with us. Remember, The Bornless is live right now on Steam as part of Steam Screamfest, so if you haven't yet, head over, download it, and step onto Falmouth Island yourself. We are, of course, running streams every single day, so make sure you tune in and watch Jake tomorrow. He'll be back. Don't worry, you haven't got to put up with me for too much long. If you've got thoughts, feedback, or just want to share your chaos, drop by our Discord. We would love to have a chat with you, or tag us on X, or you can, go crazy in the chat here. We're so grateful for you to join us. Thank you again for tuning in. And whether you're exploring, summoning, or surviving, stay unholy.